As we're waiting for the debate on foreign policy, the last debate before the election on November the 6th, many see it as the make or break point for both campaigns because President Obama and Governor Romney have so far been running neck and neck. But whoever is elected America's next commander-in-chief will take on the same old foreign policy mission, and that is to expand the country's influence in the world. But is there that much daylight between the candidates? Let's try and find out. The rhetoric of the Romney team leaves no doubt that he advocates a more intrusive U.S. foreign policy.
We have to show strength.
An America that's perceived as weak is one that will be despised.
The one thing we all fear the most is a weak America.
What can be done is an image of a robust America.
The current administration is also striving for a robust America in their own way.
We came, we saw, he died.
When folks mess with Americans, we go after them.
As the Arab Spring unfolded, the Obama administration jumped on the bandwagon of the revolutions, hoping to forge better alliances with the new leaders, while prompting the change with airstrikes and arms supplies. When anti-American protests spread across the Muslim world, some asked whether it's time for the U.S. to stop meddling in the Middle East and North Africa.
I don't see how we could ever talk about divorcing ourselves from the region. If for no other reason, given the push in U.S. policy, you still have two primary drivers in terms of national interest, and that is oil and Israel.
President Obama has thrown allies like Israel under the bus.
The Israeli leader's open saber rattling towards Iran has stirred some tension with the White House. It's clear the American people don't want another costly and devastating war based on phony red lines. But should Israel decide to attack, what would the two candidates do differently?
If it were to happen, I don't think there's going to be much difference ultimately.
I understand and share Prime Minister Netanyahu's insistence that Iran should not obtain a nuclear weapon.
My red line is Iran may not have a nuclear weapon. Iran as a nuclear nation is unacceptable to the United States of America.
President Obama said exactly the same thing.
Regarding Obama's pivot into Asia, there's not much daylight between him and Romney either. The policy involves expanding U.S. military presence to act as a counterbalance against China's growing power and to advance U.S. interests in Asia-Pacific. Candidate Romney showed a willingness to take that pivot to another level, ramping up the pressure on Beijing.
I'll crack down on China.
Having been stuck in this Cold War mentality, he sees the world in very black and white terms. So Russia is a foe, China is a foe. It's almost as if the Cold War never ended. And in that regard, the pivot toward Asia makes perfect sense to Mr. Romney, and I really don't think he would change anything. The rhetoric is the issue. The presence of subtlety or the lack of subtlety is a primary difference between Mr. Romney and Mr. Obama.
In relations with Russia, unlike Romney, for whom
Russia, this is without question our number one geopolitical foe.
President Obama avoids Cold War rhetoric.
After all, you don't call Russia our number one enemy, not al-Qaeda, Russia, unless you're still stuck in a Cold War mind warp.
Despite a more forthcoming official attitude, the administration indicated that they would still forge ahead with plans to build a missile shield close to Russia. It's a long-standing sore point in the relations between the two countries. Moscow has many times suggested resolving the issue by building the shield together, to no avail. I spoke with former Bush administration official Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson and asked him whether a change in the Oval Office could mean a drastic change in the way America deals with the world.
There's a marvelous consistency in American foreign policy, whether it's wrong-headed, which it has been much since especially 1989-90, the end of the Cold War. But there is a marvelous consistency to it, and that's because foreign policy is foreign policy and security policy. So presidents say one thing and then come in and get briefed, and they do another thing. And generally, what they do is much like what the other party would do, too.
Well, even despite the consistency that the U.S. foreign policy has shown over the years, during the debate, the candidates still have to outline their differences. They can't just say, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, we both agree on pretty much everything, so let's call it a night. We have Tom Hartman here. Mr. Hartman, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
The host of the Big Picture show on RT. When attacking Governor Romney, the Obama campaign has this line, and I heard it many times. They say, Governor Romney, what would you do differently? As if knowing and saying that as the President of the United States, he would do exactly the same. What do you think?
Well,
I think that we have a choice between the iron fist of American empire. We have the largest military in the world. It's larger than the accumulated militaries of the whole rest of the planet, at least in terms of budget. And so there's that iron fist, which is what Romney would project, or what he has said. Let's go back to the Cold War. Let's be bellicose. Let's threaten people with war. Or do we put a velvet glove over the iron fist, which has basically been the Obama policy of, we'll help you out a little bit. We'll talk conciliatory, but get out of the way, and a drone is going to drop a bomb on your head.
What do you expect from this debate Monday night?
Romney will basically say whatever he thinks it's going to take to get himself elected. Now, that's the problem. He's got two constituencies, basically, that he's been appealing to. One is the basically old white male constituency, people his age, people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, who remember the Cold War, who still have that mentality, who are very much in favor of the naked iron fist of American foreign policy. And he's got to reach out to those people. And Obama doesn't have to, but Obama historically has not. And yet at the same time, he knows that, there's this younger generation that at least would like the velvet glove over it.
Thank you, Mr. Harpin. Thank you.
Pleasure, Gayane.
So as we watch the debate, the question still stands. Are the two candidates different more in style than substance? I'm Gayane Chichakyan. I'll certainly be right here after the debate trying to answer that question. And also, every Monday, we'll be zooming into one issue, one big issue in our series of pre-election reports. Make sure you don't miss that. Thanks for watching.